Hello, Chasers. Happy Friday. Happy Wildcard, I guess, for most of you. Thanks for joining us on this Friday evening, afternoon, morning in my case. Hope you're all doing well. And a big hello to Big Man. How are you doing, mate? And how are you feeling about this weekend?
Hi, Dean. Hello, everyone. Hello to all the listeners and viewers. Firstly, I must commend your commitment to wake up this early while being in the States. I assume it must be very early for you. So it's nice to see you, firstly. Uh, it's actually a very stressful week. When I wildcarded earlier in the week, I was sort of the opinion that, most of the players would pick themselves. But I have like 7 to 8 locks in my team, and there are plenty of spots still up for grabs. We'll touch upon David Raya and the news update that we've received, which is basically not an update, but that has further sort of thrown some, clouds over the team selection. So it makes for an interesting discussion ahead, and sort of let's jump straight into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know what your dilemmas are in the chat. I'll be taking questions throughout the show. Obviously, so I threw myself into a bit of a dilemma this week because I already had Nick Pope in my team as goalkeeper, and I was fine with it at the start of the season. I started to go off it massively. So at the beginning of this week, I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to wild card, but I am going to change my goalkeeper. And so I picked David Raya. And so
Ooh.
suddenly I've got a problem because I've made my transfer. I've picked a player who might not be playing. And I've obviously got envy because everyone's doing wild cards. And I know that my team could be a little bit better if I wanted it to. Now, my team's not terrible. In fact, like probably 8 of the starting 11 are going to be the same as most people's wild cards. So there is that for me to contemplate. I'll get it up on the screen in a second and we'll look at what my team is right now. And then we'll look at what my wild card will be, and then we'll get onto big man. So this is my actual team. And the news out of Arsenal this morning from Arteta is that they're still monitoring him. They're going to check it in the next 24 hours. Not helpful, really. So you've kind of got to take a punt here on my side of things. Is he playing or not? And CH says it's fine, Dean. If you miss 2 to 6 points this week, you make up for it long term. And I did think that this morning. I was like, well, typically, like, what does my goalkeeper really get me? Like, obviously, I've bought Raya in because I've been looking for better returns from it. But what, 2-3 points is quite normal in FPL for your goalkeeper to get. So I was like, well, the rest of this team isn't too bad. Now, I don't love Robinson at the moment. Obviously, Lewis has become a bit of a rotation risk, but I see a lot of people still picking him. The rest of that team, I think a lot of people might have a wild card anyway. Big man, I'll go to you first because you are the actual expert on this show. What do you
You're
reckon?
actually beating me. You're smashing me in rank, so you should be the expert. I should be the
It's a
host.
long season,
But
mate. You're still the one I take for
but team,
advice.
but then, yeah, I don't think this team needs a wild card because the starting 11 is actually fairly close to what a wild card team would look like. I mean, uh, I think if I was on a wild card, which I am, I'm most likely going to pick Rico Lewis. I'm going to pick Rogers. I might have Eze. I'm not sure about that. I'll definitely have Saka. And I think I'll have all the three forwards that you have. So that's like what seven
Brilliant.
of the starting 11 that are likely going to be the same. So I don't think this requires a wild card. Yes, the bench is extremely weak, and you will probably need a wild card sooner rather than later. But I'm not sure your team requires it this week. Yes, you might lose out on a few Raya points, but even currently with the information available, I would still assume that Raya would start. It's obviously not enough for me to pick him on a wild card, but if you own him, I don't think that's enough for you to sell. Personally, I think you should
Yeah.
take the risk and just play him because I would still think that he starts.
Yeah. And honestly, I was thinking about this earlier in the week about a wild card and the fact I didn't really need to do it. And that was quite a good place to be. And then I realized there's that international break coming up too. And I was like, blimey, like to have that in my back pocket just in case there's any big things that happen over that little period of time. And suddenly to come out of an international break, being able to completely freshen up my team would be great. But just for some context, if they want to change that screen now and show the wildcard team that I would pick if I was to go through with it, this is the squad that I would go for this weekend. So the squad, I love this squad, right? And I love that I've got so many different teams in this team. But still, it comes back to the fact that what really changes, okay?
Exactly. I mean, this looks near on identical, especially the front eight. The
Well,
front three are the same.
it means
Do you have
Mbomo instead of
Mbomo?
Eze, and Mbomo instead of Eze. It
Yeah,
means
I think
Gabriel and
that.
Mazraoui instead of Robinson and Porro. And Raya, obviously, not there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
I
worth
hear
it, is
you.
it?
I
It's not
I hear
worth it,
you.
is it?
It's basically Gabriel and Mbomo, right? And if Raya plays, and then you're still benefiting from the Arsenal clean sheet anyway, right? So
Yes.
it's actually not much. I mean, Colville, Mazraoui. I mean, these picks won't make a huge difference. It's basically Mbomo and Gabriel mainly. Uh, yeah, I think
Mm.
your team, you're fine for till game week 8. To be very honest, and I think if I had your team, I would look at wildcarding in game week 8, or
Yeah.
maybe later, depending on how things go. I think there will always be weeks. I mean, for example, in any random week, you make a team for a wild card and compare it to your team, there will always be 3 or 4 differences. There will always, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? You will
Yes.
always come up with a better team, but you have to sort of figure out what is the optimal time to use it. And I don't think for your team, this is the time to do it.
Yeah. Do you know what I think it probably was as well? Like, obviously, because I had a decent start to the season, like, there's a big chance that this week, because everyone's wild carding, I don't get a green arrow this week because everybody should have very good teams for this week. So everybody should get high points in theory. I know it's not how it works. And that probably is playing on my mind too. But maybe you're right. I mean, I don't know. This does give me massive uplift anyway. Amin says, how about Allison or Edison in goal? Obviously, I've only just got up here in California, so I don't know what the news is on Allison, but there was talk he could be back.
Yeah, there's talk that he could be back, and apparently he could train today. So there's every chance that he plays tomorrow. I think if you're picking one of those, though, you probably go with Edison because City's fixtures going forward are better and Liverpool's are actually turning worse. So I would definitely have Edison over Allison if you're looking to pick one of them. I think if you're picking a 4.5 million keeper, and I assume a lot of people are in the same sort of boat where they're not sure whether or not to pick Raya, I think Flecken is the one for Brentford's fixtures.
Yeah.
So Brentford have a really good run of fixtures that is coming up, and Flecken is already sort of top for saves this season. Brentford are second for shots conceded from outside the box. So that is like an ideal combination for a goalkeeper to actually come good, right? So I like Flecken at 4.5, but if you don't want him and if you want to invest more, then I like Ederson. I think he's a solid pick.
Nice. Casey says, hey, Dean, hey, big man. Casey has just joined our WhatsApp group. We've got the members scheme now here on Chasing Green Arrows, and Casey jumped into that WhatsApp group over the last couple of days and has been getting involved, which I am loving. I see we just got a new member a second ago from Harrison. Welcome on board, mate. If you want to join Chasing Green Arrows, go to the YouTube home screen. You'll see the join button. For some people, it doesn't work on mobile. For me, I can't see it personally on my iPhone. A lot of people do say they can see it on their phone. If you can't see it, then go on to your laptop, click the join button, and you'll see there are 2 different tiers of membership. It's all about supporting the channel, to be honest with you. It's not that we're going to neglect you if you don't sign up. We love all of you equally.
Exactly.
We're just trying to add a bit more to this channel, a bit more depth, a bit like what Arsenal need at the moment. And we're just trying to get as many of you involved and help each other in as many ways as we can. I've been dropping that wild card into that group this week, getting a few decent replies around it. Harrison, we will need your phone number. So if you want to DM into Chasing Green Arrows on any chosen platform, then I'll make sure that the guys add you. Chris Cribbins says, would you sell Isak for a hit? If not, ESR off the bench to start. I don't think I'd sell him for a hit, would you?
No, I don't think so. I think you can avoid the hit. Just play Smith Rowe. That's why you have an 8th attacker, right? And Smith Rowe's actually done well this season, so it's fine.
Smith Rowe's doing really well, and he gets beyond that back line. He makes those third man runs. He's doing great for Fulham, and he's going to play every game. Like, I don't know what we're getting for Fulham this weekend. Like, very difficult to predict Nottingham Forest v Fulham. I literally have no idea what's going to happen in that game. but I think Emil Smith-Rowe is a decent pick. In terms of Isak, I mean, the returns have got to come, haven't they? I mean, I know that it's difficult to say it's going to happen this weekend because he's playing against Man City, but I wasn't expecting to get this deep with Isak not firing.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really done much this season, and we're not even sure whether he's going to miss out this weekend, to be very honest, because Eddie Howe has been sort of known to be a habitual liar. We know that you can't really trust him as such, right? So I might as well risk Isak and have Smith Rowe. That's why you have a good bench, right? To make sure that you can avoid these hits when needed. So yeah, I won't take a hit for sure.
Yeah. What do you think of what Jim's saying? Jim says, is it crazy to keep Raya on Wildcard? I think he'll play, and it saves me using a transfer to get him back when he is fit. Worth it to take the risk if he doesn't start. What do you think in that case?
I mean, I'm considering it myself. I don't think it's crazy, and I don't think I will do it unless we hear a concrete leak that he's starting before the deadline, in which case I think I'll probably go with Raya. But if we don't, then obviously it comes down to your risk appetite, right? If you're a risk-averse manager who's happy to take the risk, then it's fine. I agree. I do think he'll play this week, but I think the argument that you're using that it will save a transfer next week, you can use that for, let's say, if you pick Saliba as well. If you pick Saliba and Gabriel, you're going to forget about them for the rest of the season. I assume, at least for the next few weeks, right? So you are technically going to save a transfer by going double Arsenal defense as well. So I'm not exactly sure whether that argument for goalkeeper applies, because I think if you pick Flecken, I won't personally use a transfer to buy Raya anytime soon if you have Saliba.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a few things to talk about in this wildcard team, which is probably never going to see the light of day. One of the reasons I did it was because I wanted to just see who I would use right now to pad out my squad, and look at like how many like padders I've got here. That like Dibbling, honestly, I think he's going to be a really good asset because I think that he is actually Southampton's best player, and I think that he's going to get points returns. You don't need to play him, but it's like if he has to come into your team at some point as an emergency, he might actually return. So I think Dibbling is somebody to continue to look out for. Colwill at 4.5 million. I absolutely didn't think 2 weeks ago I would have had Levi Colwill in my thoughts on a wild card. But like 2 home fixtures coming up for Chelsea, I think that Chelsea are actually starting to look like we might be able to trust them. Levi Colwill is one of the better consistent performers in that Chelsea team at 4.5 million. To have a Chelsea defender, if they are going to be half decent, I don't think that's bad at all. Greaves at 4, I think, is a good shout. And Mazraoui, honestly, I think is one of the unsung heroes of Man United. I think he's going to play. Dalot is the one that people talk about the most. And Dalot's been inverting a lot this season. He's been coming inside United to try to play in a more compact manner under Ten Hag because he's so scared of conceding goals that he's stopped scoring them. But yeah, Mazraoui, I think at 4.6 mil isn't actually a bad shout.
Dean, there are 2 or 3 things that immediately stand out that I sort of want to point out, and I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. First is the lack of a third Arsenal. So one of the main reasons why people are wildcarding is to take advantage of the Arsenal fixtures. Leicester at home, Southampton at home. So getting on board with the idea of just having 2 Arsenal before this run of fixtures is a bit tough to swallow. So I think I would have triple Arsenal personally on the wild card.
Okay.
Yeah. Secondly, I think this is a bit controversial. What do you think about the lack of Trent? I see you don't have him in your squad, and I assume you've sort of used those funds to get Salah. So yeah, what are your thoughts there?
I did try. So I already had Salah, obviously, in my normal team. Yes, CH, we will put my normal team back on the screen in 1 second so everyone can see what team I'm actually likely to go with. But yeah, so as you can see, I've already got Salah, already had Saka, already got Haaland. And so I did, on a wild card, when I was messing around with it, try to force Trent in because he is the big absence. And obviously, like getting all 4 of those players, I don't know if that is possible. But I couldn't figure it out. And my squad, I don't know what my squad value is, but it's decent because I have made a little bit of money. over the first few weeks. I guess it comes down to what you feel is most important right now in a Liverpool asset. I'm just too scared not to have Salah. I think like I got such good returns from having Salah in those first couple of weeks when nobody else did. And I'm starting to see now people wildcarding and doing the same thing all over again and ignoring Salah and going with Trent instead. That I'm like, why don't I just stay on this side of the argument? Because this side probably wins over the course of the season. Like Salah versus Trent, which basically is what it is in my world. I think I want to be on the Salah side of that. There's no way around having all four, is there?
No chance for sure.
No.
That's not happening. But have you followed the news that this illness bug has apparently hit the Wolves camp, and they're missing a lot of players. Apparently, I was reading there's this player called Pond who's making a debut tomorrow. This is the first time I've heard of him. Proper like youth team player or someone like that. So they're basically going to be playing some of the kids tomorrow, which doesn't exactly bode well.
No,
I don't have any Liverpool in my draft, and this news is very, very concerning for me.
Yeah, I didn't know about that at all. No, so I need to look into that. I mean, there's not a lot I can do now. If you're just joining the show, this is my team without a wild card. I did bring in David Raya as my transfer for the week before the cup game in midweek. I didn't even consider that could be a problem for me, to be honest. And yeah, it's backfired a little bit. So this is my team and what it looks like I'll be going with. Now Big Man's telling me that Wolves have a potential illness crisis rather, and that Liverpool could absolutely eat them up at the weekend. So if that's the case, if we are suddenly looking at Wolves being the big victims of this FPL weekend, how do you rank it? The three top guys that we would need on a wild card from Liverpool if you want to make the most of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not going to get Salah. I just don't think he fits in my plans. I haven't even considered him, to be very honest.
Wow.
I mean, it may sound absurd. Yeah, I mean, it may sound absurd, but I think I've looked at the captaincy for the next few weeks, and Saka and Haaland are going to cover me just fine. So I don't think I need the extra funds from Salah. I can just spread them across the rest of the team and have a good, robust squad, which is what I aim to have. And I already have a free transfer accumulated, and my strategy is to accumulate more in the weeks to come, so that I don't have to sort of let's say rush into making too many picks. I want to be in a position where, let's say, after game week 8, I can make changes, because from game week 8, Spurs have a very good run of fixtures, United have a good run of fixtures. At that point, I want to have enough flexibility in my side to jump on those guys rather than be putting fires across the rest of my squad. So yeah, Salah's not made my squad, and I don't think he will. I don't have Trent at the moment either, and that's a bit of a worry. Gianni seemed pretty locked on Trent from the last time we spoke, but I'm sort of struggling to fit him in my team with the squads on offer. I'll still do my best to get him in, but mate, having Konza over the first 5 weeks, it has absolutely decimated my team value. I'm poor. I have a team value of, I think, 99.6 or 99.7.
Really?
And that does not help on a wildcard. That does not help on a wildcard at all. So, I basically have to, long story short, on my own wildcard team, I have to, sacrifice, let's say, one of Trent, Solanke, and Bruno. And I know everyone will say sacrifice Bruno, but I still like the idea of having a secure starter on penalties for 90 minutes.
Is he a secure starter? I don't know anymore, mate. He shouldn't be.
Okay, even if I don't get Bruno, I'll get Eze. So, I'll still get the hate in the comments either way, right? Yeah. So it's still going to happen. But, I still think he's secure for starts, to be very honest. But yeah, I have a few hours to sort, these few dilemmas in my team, but the rest, it looks all right, I guess, unless I'm forced into a last minute, let's say, structural change. If Raya is, let's say, leaked to be playing, or if Lewis is leaked not to be playing, these things can change the wildcard plans, and they can just completely change my draft. But currently running with the assumption that things will stay as expected.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, look, let's look at worst case scenario for my team. Like, if Raya doesn't play and Lewis doesn't play, then it's going to be a poor game week because Robinson, I'm not overly hopeful of getting points. I've got no decent subs. Mosquera is obviously out now for Wolves. So not only have they got an illness in the camp, Mosquera has got an injury that's going to leave him out for a long time. So yeah, this could be a nightmare. But we'll wait and see. Thanks for all your comments that are coming in. Let's see how many of you are there in the chat right now. There's over 200 of you here right now. Make sure you like. And if you haven't subscribed, then please do press that button. We are here for the next 35 minutes. We're going to take your questions. And in a second, we're going to see Big Man's wildcard team. I assume it's a wildcard team anyway. Have we definitely pressed the button, mate?
Yeah, I did it on I think it was on Saturday. Even before the start of the season, I had sort of penciled in a game week 6 wildcard. So I went ahead with the plan, and I'm glad I did, actually, because I sort of benefited from the price swings. There were loads of price swings, and there are actually more happening tonight as well. So I mean, whatever was left of my team value, had I not wildcarded, I mean, I would have been sitting here with a selling value of what, 99 million.
Yeah, that's true. Harrison is asking if you can put his phone number on. Don't put your phone number. Definitely don't put your phone number in the chat, Harrison. If there's like a DM option to Chasing Green Arrows that you can see on here, then go for it. I'll leave the producer to deal with that though. So keep looking in the comments, Harrison, about how you can do that. I don't want everyone like just sticking their phone numbers in the comments. That could lead to absolute chaos. Right, let's do this. Let's get on to Big Man. This is why we tune in. Here he is, the guru himself, the FPL guru. I'm going to call him for the rest of the day. Talk us through it, mate. Talk us through it. I can't believe Bruno's still in this team.
I mean, neither can I. I mean, I actually tweeted a couple of hours ago that Trent has left my team and Bruno's still in. Someone sent help. that was the tweet. That was the tweet. And okay, what I'll do is I'll run you through some of my nailed selections and some of the players I think will almost certainly make it to the draft. I think Haaland is nailed. Saka is nailed. Gabriel is nailed. Rogers is nailed. I will have at least one of Bruno and Eze. Mbomo is obviously nailed. And I'll most probably end up with Saliba if there is no concrete news on Raya as well. I really like Lewis as well, so I don't think I'll let go of Lewis. I know you were sort of saying that he could be a rotation risk, but I'm sort of confident, low-key confident and excited to own him going forward because I think he'll play some of the easier fixtures. It's actually sort of heartening to see that he's not exactly been competing with Walker and he's sort of been playing in midfield. So even if Walker is playing, he can still play. That's nice to see. I mean, apart from that, Semenyo's fine for the next 2 fixtures. I can use him as a rotating option in the rest of my squad. Yeah. I think Southampton, Leicester are really good fixtures. And we pointed out in the previous episode that Bournemouth are actually 5th for XG. And that is despite having had a relatively rough run of fixtures. And now they're playing 2 promoted teams. So you'd expect some goals to flow. Solanke is an interesting one. I could replace him with Wood, and that would allow me to get, a better defense, probably Trent. But I'm not entirely sure whether I want to do that. I think Calvert-Lewin is also very, very close to being locked. I don't think I'll sell Calvert-Lewin as well. I think he's a very good pick for the price and for the penalties. I actually commend you for picking him at the start of the season. I mean, that was some foresight, mate. So I'm joining you. I'm joining you on that one. But to be very honest, I really like Solanke as well in this team. His numbers so far, underlying data in 4 starts, he's averaging close to 0.8 XG per 90. He's had 7 big chances. He missed 3 big chances in the previous game. I think if he had scored twice, everyone would have had him in their teams. But just because he didn't, people have sort of overlooked him. So I like Solanke. I think there's a chance he could be on penalties as well.
Yeah, actually. We still don't know. Yeah,
and that would make him an even better asset. Why I sort of like him is that. From game week 8 onwards, Spurs have a really good run of fixtures. So sort of picking him now. If I pick him now, then it sort of saves the transfer later. Hi, Abubakar. He's asking, Big Man, don't you think it's worth targeting informed players over underlying data? I think this is a very good question, and I think there's a very fine margin between picking informed players and picking players just on the basis of past points. I generally tend to go by players who are performing their underlying data, because more or less my general rule of thumb is that good players will deliver points sooner rather than later. So if I think that a pick will come good eventually, I would still like to own him, and that's the exact same case with Bruno. I think if I'm not picking him this week, I'll get him in by game week 8 in my team. So that's the logic behind it. That if I'm buying him in game week 8, why not buy him right now and save the headache later? But anyway, I think the Bruno spot, the Poro slot, the keeper slot are the three main slots I'm playing around with. I could get, I guess, Trent instead of Poro, maybe get Eze over Bruno, maybe even get Edison over Flecken. These are the kind of changes I'm considering and deliberating in my team, but I don't think I will change a lot from this team. I think at least 10 or 11 will remain the same. The other 3 or 4 slots that I've sort of mentioned are the ones I'm playing around with. Maybe Mikalenko can become Greaves if I need the funds, but yeah, these are the slots that that will keep me up at night, and I can see myself staying up till 4 or 5 a.m. deliberating which way to go.
All right, now I'll just do this quick one from Mike before I reflect on what you've just said. Mike's given us a couple of quid. Thank you, mate. He says, right, Flecken, Lewis, Solanke, or Raya, Porro, Wood. It's a tough one here, obviously, because of the Raya dilemma. I mean, I'm tempted to say the first option.
Yeah, it seems more secure.
Seems more secure, exactly. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah,
I think that.
Also, another thing I'd like to mention with Wood is that I like him at the price point, and he allows for a better defense. But I would want Solanke in game week 8. So if let's say in this setup, if I pick Wood, what is the route to Solanke? I don't have a route to Solanke, and I think he will score a lot of points. I recall last season, there was the spell where Richarlison was playing as the number 9, and he was posting some incredible underlying data. And I'm seeing similar from Solanke this time. And if he can keep that up, then he can be a really good option, especially if he takes penalties like I would guess him too. So I don't really want to leave myself exposed with no route to him. With Wood, he has Chelsea away next week, and I would bench him anyway. So do I really want to own him for just one fixture this week?
No.
That's the thing. I mean, I like him as a pick. He's a decent pick for the price, but I just like Solanke more than him, and I'm sort of wondering whether spending the extra 1.4 million to save a transfer might be worth it.
Yeah, look, what's Solanke doing at the moment? He's following in shots. He's going to pick up those bits and pieces around goalkeepers. He's playing against Onana this weekend. Onana can't catch a ball. He saves. He makes good saves, but he parries them straight back out. So Solanke is going to be there to eat up a chance this weekend. I've spoken to people around Tottenham where I've been doing some reporting over the past week or so, and they're still really excited about the signing of Dominic Solanke. There was no regret over spending that amount of money on him. They've bought him because Ange really identified him as the perfect focal point and the guy that kind of sets the tone for the attack. And they're still happy that that's going to be the case. They've been able to use the cup fixture against Coventry was a nightmare for them, and they were really disappointed with the kind of support that Dominic Solanke got in that game. But in the 2 games since, he's managed to find the net. There's going to be more goals coming from him. And I think when you look at the players around him that are starting to find form, Brennan Johnson, James Maddison, Son's obviously always dangerous, then I think that he does see it as a good pick at the moment, Solanke. So both of us currently got the same front 3, which is unusual. FPL Freddy says Solanke is a 90-minute man, which is a big thing. Well, it's actually about an 85-minute man. But yeah, I take your point. Solanke is going to be out there. Like, they spent a lot of money on him. He is their number 9 for the season, and they need him to deliver. Ange needs him to deliver. Like, his job kind of depends on this transfer working out, because he is the guy that's going to be delivering goals across the course of this season. The other guy I've been reporting on in the past couple of days is Bruno Fernandes. His drop-off in terms of key passes, his drop-off in terms of expected assists, his free kicks that have been flying into the top tier of the Stretford end, are all kind of worrying trends. But there is one trend that is kind of surprising, and it's that he's having more shots than ever, Bruno Fernandes. I was speaking to someone, and they said his stats on shots are up, which is a bit weird because he hasn't scored a goal yet. And so I understand, like, people are like criticizing you for this, obviously, but it's like they would criticize you if you picked a template pick. So you can't win on this. And this is your team, and you need a player that is a bit different to give you that lift in terms of rank. And Bruno, while it doesn't seem likely that he's going to be a massive hit suddenly overnight against Tottenham, there's no way that Ten Hag, under pressure to win a game, is going to leave him out of the team. There's just no way he's going to do it. He's the captain, and he sees virtually every minute. I think he's missed about 20 minutes of the season so far. Bruno Fernandes is going to play, and he has to score at some point. Bruno Fernandes has to score.
He's taken more shots out of any player in Europe who's yet to score this season. Is the stat that I read in the top five leagues in Europe. So, and I mean, if you're talking about underlying data, his XGI so far this season is 3.18. It's the exact same as Luis Diaz. Both have had the exact same expected returns. Diaz has had 51 points. Bruno's at 15. Now I know that Diaz is a better pick than Bruno, but for him to score 15 points is just comical, and it's unfair. He should have had more points. I'm not saying he should have had 50 or something points, but he should have had, at least a decent or sizable number of points as compared to what he has right now.
Yeah.
So irrespective of what he's done so far, that's not going to affect my decision going forward. And the main thing is that I still view him as a pick that I'd want from game week 8, right? That's the big one for me. That's the big one. So it's either going to be Eze or Bruno in this spot, depending on which one I pick.
Mm-hmm.
I assume a lot of people will share the same sentiment about Eze as well, because he hasn't done much either.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Eze, and it's a bit meh. I don't really know whether we're going to see returns from him or not. Hello, Bill, by the way. He missed his notice. Hope he's all set. Hello, Bill. Thanks for jumping on, mate. FPL Amateur says, are people sleeping on the Watkins? I mean, I don't think people are. Me and you might be right now, but
Gianni has him in his team.
Yeah, G has him. I don't know about Watkins. What do you do? Have Watkins instead of Solanke, basically? I mean, that's what you.
I don't think it's much of an upgrade. I think both are similar, to be very honest.
Yeah, I think if you were to look at it from this point onwards, particularly over what their points return is going to be from season, I can't envisage that it's actually going to be that different between those two players. I know Tottenham are a little less predictable in terms of their reliability of getting results at the moment, but Ange's teams are built to score goals, and he's the guy that's supposed to score them. So I think that Solanke over Watkins is the pick, personally. But yeah, a few people talk about Eze in the chat. Chayana says Eze still good value. Bill says he's finally moved Eze out. Mark says, where's Aston Villa Bozzy when you need him? Yeah, exactly. We've got some Villa chat going here, Bozzy. Where are you, mate? So that's where we are at. I guess the big absence, mate, is obviously a Liverpool attacker. When people are talking about...
Yeah, that's the one, right? That's the one.
I mean, Liverpool scored 5 goals against West Ham in midweek. They got 3 goals against Bournemouth. They got 3 goals at AC Milan. They scored 3 goals against Man United. This team aren't going to be shy about attacking, and you don't have anybody that's scoring their goals.
Yeah, I guess the template pick here would be Luis Diaz, right? And I can easily get him in for Bruno, but again, I think he's fine for the short term, and there are points to be had for the short term given the fixtures. I mean, Wolves will be missing a few team players. I think he'll probably do well, but it's just that it's booking in a transfer for later, because I don't envisage Diaz playing week in, week out with the Champions League. Either he'll get subbed early, or his minutes will be affected in some way or form eventually. So again, I might be being a bit too passive here, or being a bit too safe, but that's what I feel with Luis Diaz, actually.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, the other thing with Liverpool and Diaz's rotation and picking the 11, like, it's so hard to predict, because it gives people chances and then they take them, and then you're like, so do they stay? Like Gakpo, Nunes, Jota, like they're all competing for places as well at the moment with Luis Diaz, and Salah's obviously nailed on. So it's really difficult to know what's going on. And Chiesa obviously breaking through now. I don't think Chiesa is going to start a game just yet, but he's definitely coming into the thinking. Nab says, any thoughts on Jared Bowen? Jared Bowen is not having a very involved season, to be honest with you. He's playing, well, he's 1 minute he's out wide, the next minute he's having to fill in as a centre forward. I liked, I should say, Jared Bowen as a pick, but at the moment, it's just difficult to see like what his service is going to be, what his hope is of actually scoring a goal in this team. Like West Ham are falling off a cliff. Now the 5-1 against Liverpool wasn't as bad a performance as it looks on paper. It still wasn't good, and they only scored 1 goal. They didn't even score it. It was no goal. So I just got no faith in West
Dean,
Ham.
I recall seeing the Fulham game. I'm sure as a Fulham fan, you must have caught it. They were very lucky to score that goal at the end. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
They didn't do much. They didn't create anything throughout the game. They just scored a late winner. A late equalizer at the end. They didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, they didn't create much. But again, against City, it was similar. They didn't really offer much. Got a lucky own goal.
An own goal.
From
Yes.
Ruben Diaz. That was. So West Ham haven't impressed me at all this season. I think they're firmly in the wait and see category. They're not creating loads of chances, and they're actually conceding goals at the other end. They're clearly a team in transition, and currently they're not exactly worth considering from an FPL point of view. If anything, target players against them is what I'd say.
Exactly. Yeah. Last 4 games for West Ham, their goals have been 2 own goals. They've had they failed to score in 1 game, and they've had a last gasp Danny Ings equaliser. That's not a pattern. That's not a pattern. That's all complete luck. So I would say just leave Jared Bowen for now. I don't think he's to blame here, but I also don't think he's been great as a captain. I don't think that was possibly a good decision from them to go with that. But we'll wait and see. West Ham, not a team to be getting on board with right now. As Big Man says, maybe we should be going against them. Bobby says Bruno had a 3 out of 10 rating from the poll from Mark Goldbridge, the lowest score of all players. Don't worry about that. Big Man's not worried about what Mark Goldbridge is doing. He's got his own things he's looking at, his own trends, and one of them is not to look at Mark Goldbridge's Man United ratings. I don't think.
Dean, there's one thing that I forgot to mention about my team, and I think it's fairly critical because it's something we usually discuss at length, and it's the captaincy. And I think I will be captaining Saka this week.
Oh, wow. I just assumed, I don't know why we haven't had this conversation because I just leaving it on Haaland from now on. But Saka, okay, yeah. I mean, obviously a great team to be targeting. Leicester fans turned on the team in midweek when they played in the Cup against Walsall. Leicester, I mean, we talked about earlier on about Wolves potentially being the big victims of this weekend. We've just mentioned that West Ham aren't very good, but I mean, Leicester going to Arsenal, this could easily be a 3-4, maybe even 5-0.
I mean, I was having a look at the odds, bookmaker odds, and Arsenal are comfortably projected to score the highest number of goals. Now, I know Haaland he's just a machine, and I'm fully expecting 1 goal minimum, but I'm sort of happy to take him on, but because at least I own him. And because I own him, that sort of mitigates the risk to some extent.
Yeah.
And if Saka can, do well against Leicester, and if Arsenal score the number of goals that I expect them to, then I think he can come close to matching Haaland, if not outscoring him. So I am going to go with Saka. I'm pretty confident about that.
Yeah, very good. I am doing a set and forget now on Haaland. I'm fed up of even considering it every week. I know that you'll say, well, why are you bothering to have Mo Salah if you're never going to captain him? I don't know. Is the question to that. I think that given Arsenal's fixtures, the next 3 game weeks, that actually on a wild card, Kai Havertz isn't a bad pick at all. He's only 17% owned, but I think Havertz could come into goals in these coming weeks. So that's my little input on that. Casey, by the way, is in the members section. He is captaining Evan Nielsen this weekend. he's got a hunch that this is Evan Nilsson's time. He's banging on about this. I have to give Casey a shout out for it because he's absolutely adamant that this is what he's doing. He's liked what he's seen, and he thinks that this is his time. Obviously, not a bad fixture to go for it for. If you're going to target him, then this is probably the game week to do it. With Bournemouth playing against Southampton. He's got a long wait. 'Cause it's not until Monday either, so he's going to have to wait until Monday night to see whether his captaincy pick pays off. But yeah, Casey says currently top 35k in the world, so it's really make or break. Top 35k in the world, and he's captaining Evan Nilsson. He's putting everything at risk here. Fair play to you, Casey. I love the fact that you're playing this game your own way. So you keep it up, mate, and good luck with that call. I mean, Evan Nilsson, he's due a goal, I'd say. I think that the runs that he's making, he's unfortunate that he hasn't actually scored yet. He's getting into good positions from what I've seen in Bournemouth matches, and he's a good player. I've obviously seen him play before. So yeah, that's a nice one. Let's do a few questions. Marco says, in your view, Isak will play? Yeah, I can't see why I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect him to as well. But again, we don't exactly know the severity of his injury, so it's sort of tricky to say.
Yeah, look at this one. Ladis, hey guys, I'm currently at 2.5k.
2.5k, that is incredible.
How am I supposed to keep my rank? I don't know, mate. I was at 37k and I've totally lost my rank. I'm dropping by the day. What does he do, big man? What do you do in this situation? Do you just have to mirror what everybody else is doing, or can you still be brave?
I mean, there's a certain pattern, or there's a certain way that he's been playing that has sort of gotten him to this rank. So why not continue it? There's no reason to change and follow others while they're actually behind you. You must be doing something right for you to be over here in the same place.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great rank. Well done, mate, for getting up there. Whatever stage of the season you managed to get up to those sorts of numbers is good. Let me know in the chat whether you've used any chips, and if so, which ones you have dropped already so far this season. Nab says, any thoughts on Foden, especially from game week 9 coming in for Saka? What are your thoughts around that, big man?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a very good point, because I'm considering double City defense as well. So I can get, let's say, Guardiola or Ederson with Lewis on my wildcard. And this is one of the things that is bothering me. There's a chance that I might want to do Saka to Foden ahead of City's fixtures. And Arsenal's fixtures are sort of turning from game week 9 as well. So that's a time where City are playing at home to Southampton. It seems like in the ideal time to jump on him. I don't really want to block myself off the move, but yeah, it's something I might consider. I think it's actually really nice that he's thinking so far ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to see what news there was. There any news on Isak today? I'm just seeing. Mark says he's got a broken toe. I'm just trying to look if I've missed. Obviously, I've not seen any team news today because it's 7 o'clock in the morning here. But I'll have to. Eddie Howe. Here we go. Eddie Howe on Alex Isak. He's a doubt for tomorrow. He's had scans. He's had a lot of tests. The injury has been diagnosed fine. There's no issues there. It sounds worse than it is, but he's got a broken toe. But it's one that can be managed and played with, providing he can tolerate the pain levels, and that will have no long-term risks. He had an injection to numb the toe last week, and that was fine until the injection wore off. Let's see how he is today. Imagine what that felt like when that injection wore off, and it's like, ouch. Yeah, I've got a broken toe and I've just played like at an extremely high level. Yeah, I think he'll play. I think Manchester City at home is not a game that they're going to let Isak sit out if he can just have another injection and get through the game. If he says there's no long-term risk with that, then he'll be fine. Loads of footballers actually play with little injuries like that and just have little painkillers that get them through. Luke, you did have me then. You said in the chat that you were at 501k, and I was literally going to say prove it. I wanted you to like text me or something with a screenshot of your team. He says he's actually at 180k, so still not bad, mate, but it's not quite 501. Did Ladis end up replying about whether he'd used his chips? I'm not sure. Oh yeah, Ladis has used his wild card and his triple captain. So those two are in the bin, but he's used them well because he's got a good rank to show for it so far. So well done, mate. Michael says thoughts on Jimenez on pens. Yeah, it could be on pens. I still don't know that I love Raul Jimenez as a pick. I just don't see the consistency with Fulham's front line at the moment. Definitely won't play the full game. Muniz will be on after an hour. And just because Jimenez has returned for a couple of games doesn't mean that I feel that it's a trend that's going to continue. I love the style of his last goal. I'm just a little bit unconvinced by it all, but that's probably because I've seen him in person for so long at Fulham. And just as much as I wanted that transfer to work out, just came to the realization that his best days were gone. And I don't think Fulham have got a good enough number 9 this season, to be honest. I think if you could find a hybrid of Jimenez and Muniz and put them in your FPL team, then that would be fine. But we can't. So that's where we are. I wouldn't pick Jimenez personally. If you want him as your third forward, then I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, I agree. There are just better picks at the same price. Is Mikalenko nailed? I won't say nailed, but I think he should start most fixtures. I think Dyche clearly loves him, and he'll play him in most games where there's no fixture congestion. But in case of fixture congestion, you might see Ashley Young get the odd game here or there. But Mikalenko for his price is actually a very good pick, and he's someone who is close to making my wildcard team. I think I might go for him if funds aren't an issue. He rotates really well with some of the other defenders as well. So Everton are actually going on a really good run of fixtures from this point onwards. And crucially, they have Branthwaite back. There are plenty of other players who've returned as well into training. So I don't think this will be an easy fixture for Crystal Palace. I'd actually back Everton to win this weekend with the players they have returning. So yeah, Mikalenko is a good selection.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that Everton win this weekend as well. They've put in some actual decent performance. You've got to patch it all together. What we've seen so far this season, there's an entire good Everton performance to be had. Now they just need to put it into the same game. And even if they go 2-0 up, remember that there's still time for the other team to score some goals. Shivan says, 40k rank, well done. Playing some Wildcard. 8, Eze and Dunk to Semenyo and Saliba for a hit. Need to cover against wildcarders this week. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I won't take a hit. I don't think that needs a hit at all.
No.
I think Eze is perfectly fine. If you have funds for Dunk to Saliba, then do it. But yeah, I won't sell Eze for sure.
Yeah, that doesn't seem worth it to me either. You're right. Yeah, what's the uplift of that? I don't think there is anywhere near enough potentially. Calafiori or Timber, you have to pick one. Well, I didn't want to pick one. I don't know which one's going to play.
That's the issue.
That's the issue. Like, I guess Calafiori, but I don't say that with much confidence at all. I'm sorry about that. What about this one, big man? Sanchez, Bruno.
Abhi is asking Sanchez, Bruno Havertz, or Flecken, Madison, Watkins. Yeah, this one is really tricky. I think I'd probably go with the former.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go with the former.
As I said, like Havertz, I think has got a good run of fixtures coming in. I think that he'll get decent returns. And Bruno, we'll see. We've got 8 minutes of the show left. Happy to get your questions in. It is a wildcard weekend for most people. Not for me, but for Big Man and most of you. Al says, have you got any thoughts on Nathan Collins? I don't personally, but do you, Big Man?
Brentford fans have been really impressed with him this season.
Have they?
So they've signed Van der Berg, but Nathan Collins has played really well, and a lot of them reckon that he's actually ahead in the pecking order when it comes to centre backs, even ahead of Pinnock. So I think he's a decent pick. I still think there's some element of risk in the Brentford defenders, though, to pick. I don't think there's one standout one. So personally, I'm avoiding the Brentford defenders. I would rather go with the Flecken, who's more secure to play and who has more routes to points via saves and bonus.
Yeah, fair. Saliba, Calvert-Lewin and Solanke, or Lewis, Jackson. And we haven't talked about Jackson in this show yet, but Nico Jackson is becoming a good pick. I would personally go for Saliba, Calvert-Lewin, and Solanke on that one, Andy. Luke's asking in the chat, where's the pre-recorded vids? Luke, most stuff we do on CJ is obviously live shows, but we are dropping more pre-recorded stuff, mainly in the members area now on Chasing Green Arrows, just to give people a bit more bang for their buck. So if you do end up joining, there will be videos dropping in there. And we're totally open, by the way, to any pre-recorded stuff that the members want to see in that area of Chasing Green Arrows throughout the week. So little videos that will drop in between the live shows, any areas that you would like advice on, or even if it's just like casual stuff for us to chat about, let us know, especially if you're in the WhatsApp, and any video content that you would like to see here on Chasing Green Arrows, and we'll definitely do our best to deliver it. This is an interesting
Slippery
one.
Cat is asking Savio. Now, Gianni was really, really high on Savio.
Yeah.
He got rested in the League Cup against Watford, and now I assume he's going to be starting most of the fixtures in the times to come. Yeah, he's going to play. I think he's not a bad pick. I'm generally a risk-averse manager, so I don't think I'm going to go with him because I still don't fully 100% trust his minutes. But yeah. I think if you're a risk-neutral manager or Maverick manager, Savio is exactly the kind of pick you want to go for.
Definitely, yeah. He is somebody that could really change your game week. I think he's a really good player, and I like him as a pick, to be honest. Dan says Trent, Diaz, Solanke, or Aina, Salah, Rodgers. That's difficult. I'm probably going the first one, though.
Yeah, I think the first one works better for balance.
Yeah.
And I assume that it's going to be very difficult to make a team with Saka, Salah, and Haaland. So I like the balance.
Yeah, I've got it.
I know.
We need that to pay off this week, I tell you. Marco, Eze to Martinelli for the next two games. I mean, I see personally no desire in going to Martinelli. He hasn't scored for months and months. I don't know. What would the upside be? I mean, obviously they've got Leicester, so I understand that's what the upside would be, that they can actually finally score a goal. But would you trust Martinelli to deliver points?
Not necessarily. I mean, they also have Trossard now. Sterling's around. Early subs could be an issue. So he's definitely not one that I would get, especially from a team like Arsenal, right? With Arsenal, you want to get the optimal three. You don't want, rotation risks or players who are not going to play the maximum allotment of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary say, Dean, what time do you get out of bed in the morning? Props for hauling yourself out of bed for these streams. Yeah, I mean, I've got kids, so I'm generally up early anyway, but this one started at 7 a.m. my time, so I got up at 6 a.m. just to make sure that I didn't literally look like I just got out of bed and could prep a little bit for this show and be ready. So it's fine. Sean says, Fleck and Havertz and Semenyo over Raya, Mavididi and Solanke. It's different. It's a bit different. Obviously, is that risk over Raya, which helps me lean towards that first one, especially as turns out I'm talking up Havertz quite a lot in this episode today.
I think both combinations are fine personally. I don't think there's much between them.
Yeah, there's not, to be honest. Yeah.
Next question is who to bench, Wood or Rodgers? Oof, this is a really tough question. This is really tough. Maybe Rodgers. I
think I would bench Rodgers. I think for this game, I would bench Rodgers. His returns, his performances have been brilliant. His returns haven't been brilliant. And Wood hasn't been brilliant, but his returns have been very good. So you've got literally the flip here. Rodgers is a much better footballer. Wood, I think, is a much better FPL pick, especially this week. Nottingham Forest at home against Fulham. Aston Villa, they're going away, but it is Ipswich. Alan says captain Salah, Saka, or Watkins. Well, big man's captaining Saka, so I'd go with the guru himself if I was you. I do think Saka's a good pick outside of Haaland, I have to say, but I will be team Haaland for the ongoing. Oh my goodness, how am I supposed to take this information in? It's not even 8 o'clock in the morning, Oliver. thoughts on this? We got Maddison in there. I haven't seen anyone else really picking Maddison, and
Yeah, Madison's numbers have actually been really good. He's actually
they
only
have, yeah.
behind, in terms of XGI, he's only behind Haaland. That is
Is he
crazy. So
really?
he's not. Yeah, that's ridiculously good.
It is. I
So
spoke to someone
yeah,
this week about Maddison, and they're convinced he's about to have the best season of his career in every sense. Like the way that he's fitting into this Tottenham team, but also they think the returns are coming. The only problem with that is I saw James Maddison give an interview the other day, and he was talking about how he really enjoys some of the deeper lying midfield work that he's been doing. And I was like, no FPL player wants to hear that, mate. Like, get out of there, get forward. Right, last couple of questions. Michelle says, who to bench, Konsa or Lewis? Konsa for me, but
yeah, Konza for sure. Says versus Flecken, we prefer Flecken for the fixtures.
absolutely.
Is it the best 7 million mid? Mbomo is.
Yeah,
Mbomo's
Bomber
clear, I
definitely
think.
is. Yeah, is not looking like a 7 million mid at the moment for me. DCL and Salah. Hang on, how can I give advice to someone who's a high flyer, Ladis? DCL and Salah or Havertz and Diaz over the next 6? Honestly, I might be tempted to go Havertz on that one, the Havertz route. As I say, I think that he's going to eat up a lot of goals. Look, Calvert-Lewin's a good cheap pick, but I'm not expecting him to have like a 25-goal season or something. Like, this is just a guy that I think while he's fit and actually showing some sign of form, we should probably look to be backing. And yeah, got some rewards from it so far this season. Big man, been a brilliant hour. Thank you so much for getting me through the
Pleasure,
first
Dean. Thank
hour.
you for waking up.
The first hour of my day has been a great one. It's
you.
thanks to you and to all of the chasers that have been in here as well. Remember, we have got a members zone. So if you haven't had enough content in the last hour, go to the join button right now on the YouTube homepage. And there are 2 tiers of membership where you can get involved. And you can even chat to me 24/7 if you want in the WhatsApp group. There's a load of people jumping in there. We are having fun. Enjoy your weekends, people. I hope your wildcards go well. We'll be back on Monday to reflect on how things have gone. We'll see you then.